Welcome to episode 59 of the Left Behind Game Club. On today's episode, we play through Respawn Entertainment's Titanfall 2. If you'd like to join the community, you can go to leftbehindgame.club and see all of our past episodes, or join our Discord server, where there are people talking about games, deals, and the latest news. On today's episode, we revisit the time-old classic question: does Mo know how to read? What the overall objective is didn't make a whole lot of sense to me and wasn't super compelling. And I just wish the story was more gripping earlier on.
It might have been because the story stopped and you had to wait for a loading screen. You had to read the captain's log,
reading.
which was
Mo, did you read?
terrible.
You know the answer. No, of course
so Mo
not.
doesn't read. Mo's illiterate.
You're listening to the Left Behind Game Club.
Welcome to another episode of the Left Behind Game Club, our never-ending attempt to make sure that no game is left behind. I am your host, Mr. Michael Ruffolo. Today, I've got a full table of friends. Friend number one, the man, the myth, the legend, a tribe called Kev himself, Mr. Kevin Reaburn.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Friend number two, the gun nut, you know him, you love him, Mr. Muhammad Murtadi.
So excited. Couldn't wait to play this game, guys. Let's get it.
And the part-time gamer himself, Mr. Bobby Baird.
Love that. Big fan of the show. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, show, man.
Absolutely,
Welcome.
Bobby. I'm really excited to have you on. Today's episode, we're covering Titanfall 2, a 2016 release from Respawn Entertainment, which I think now has gotten a little bit more attention now that APEX has dropped and everyone seems to be playing the hottest new Battle Royale. Boys, what has been your experience with Titanfall and the series as a whole and Titanfall 2? Had you played it before today's podcast?
Well, I heard about it because it was one of those big blockbuster titles. You get to drive giant mechs. The commercials look super sweet. I'm pretty sure I played the original, but correct me if I'm wrong, there was no campaign mode, and that was kind of like a shock. Titanfall 2 came out. I must have played maybe 10, 15 minutes of it way back in 2016. Haven't touched it since. And to be honest, had no idea it had anything to do with APEX Legends. I just never did until I started picking up weapons and recognized them as being the same ones as the other game. So
Mozambique over here.
Exactly. I didn't know much about it, except for it was a cool game where you get to shoot things and drive mechs. That's pretty much it on my end. Mike?
So, I played Titanfall 1. I played a bit of it. Didn't love it. I was super hyped up when they announced it and they had all the trailers and demos and stuff. And I thought the wall running was super cool. I thought the Titans looked great. I just didn't love the experience of playing it. So when Titanfall 2 came out, I hopped into the campaign and I played a couple hours and I kind of just fell off. And in fact, when I started playing for the podcast, I just picked up from my save, which I realized was about a quarter of the way through the game. Bobby, what about you?
So yeah, so Titanfall, when it came out, I remember seeing the trailers and I was like, oh, it's like Gundam. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Sorry, you can bleep me.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, this is cool. Then I never played it. And then didn't really touch. I knew that the second one, it was the same studio that was doing Apex, so I'd kind of come over from Apex before, but played the whole campaign this weekend and then played a little bit of the multiplayer. I'm really impressed. It's a little gem. Gem.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like, I don't know what it was that made people fall off from it. We had similar experiences, I guess. Kev, what did you know about the game?
Yeah, I had no clue. Much like all the other games that we've played on the podcast before, or that I've played on the podcast before, I had no clue about it beforehand, except for in EA Access, I saw it when I was downloading all my sports games, and I was like, oh, this is a game, I'll download it. And then it just downloaded and sat there.
So Kev, you played it on the Xbox One.
Yes, I played it on the Xbox
I played it on the Xbox One. Bobby?
I played it on my Xbox One.
And
Mo, make it a quadfecta.
No, I stayed loyal to the PC Master Race. I played it on my PC, on my machine, keyboard and mouse style.
All right, as a shooter is supposed to be played.
I think so, but I don't have an Xbox One. I guess I couldn't join that club. But I think there's one thing I kind of feel like I might have missed out on was probably like the DualShock vibration experience in the controller. I don't know how much of that was in your game, but because I was mouse and keyboard, everything was all audio based and like visual, so I didn't get that like third dimension of interactivity.
I mean, I don't quite remember any moments that stood out with a lot of rumble and vibration, despite there being, massive explosion scenes, as I'm sure we'll all get to. But I think one of the good things about rumble is that you don't know that it's there.
Yeah.
Kind of like a great score or, amazing visuals. It just blends into the overall experience.
How often did you die, Mike?
I died a lot.
Okay. Well, I felt the rumble, and you feel it stop when you die.
What difficulty did you guys play it on?
I jumped in on regular. I think when you do the first little trial run through, it gave me the suggestion. It was like, yeah, you were good enough to be a regular player. So that's what I kind of kept it at. I was kind of nervous because I usually like playing games on easy to just mow down bad guys. But I kept it on there, and I thought it was okay. Yeah, I think I died maybe 2 or 3 times, and all of them were in boss fights. They weren't like in regular shooting situations.
Right.
I played the secret difficulty, the APEX Legends difficulty. I don't know if you knew that. No. I'm totally kidding.
Okay. Oh.
I did play on regular
totally
as well. I'm kind of if I'm playing a campaign, like, okay, maybe second run through I'll play it to be challenged, but like if it's a campaign, I'm there for the story experience. I'm there to like
100%.
watch a movie. I'll hop into multiplayer for a real challenge.
I totally agree. For me, regular or normal mode is the way the game is designed to be played, and anything easier is for people who are not comfortable with those style of games, and anything harder is for people who are going for an extra challenge. So, I expect regular to be the way the game is designed to be played and how it's supposed to be judged.
Yeah, same here. I played it on normal because it was suggested to me. I don't wish that I could have played Apex difficulty, because that's just dropping at Skull Town, not finding a weapon, and dying within 2 seconds.
I see. I feel like that's dropping at Thunderdome, where the only thing you'll find are Phoenix kits and armor.
And a Mozambique, baby.
Yeah, Mozambique over here. Okay, boys. So let's hop into it. What is Titanfall 2?
I can quickly give a little Reader's Digest version. It's essentially a military-style shooter, first-person shooter game where you immediately play as a rifleman, I guess, and you come to understand that they're in this like army group. There's classes of people called pilots. These are people who are qualified to operate giant walking mechs. These walking mechs are essentially tanks or Gundam, as Bobby mentioned perfectly, and you're fighting a battle against, what would you say, just another faction that's similar to you, is more or less, and Halo style, just throwing a bunch of words in, that's pretty much what it is.
I kind of thought of them as like an evil corporation, although that, honestly, if I had to do one complaint about the game, I pretty much loved all the gameplay experience, but going to the story, I didn't really feel too like drawn into like the heroes and the villains. It was just very top level, like, oh, there's this evil company and they want to build a weapon and we don't really know what the weapon does, but we got to stop it.
100%. It's like, I felt the exact same way. I didn't really know what was going on, but what I kind of liked about the story was that bond with BT20 whatever, the Gundam that you finally get assigned with. The story between you two and just getting to the mission and solving the mission. Had no idea what the mission was at the end, but I knew, like, me and my buddy here, we're going to beat down every other Gundam we see and kind of just keep moving forward, finishing objectives.
So what I found was at the beginning of the game, the story was not very clear and it was not compelling at all. But as the game progressed, I was more and more invested in the relationship with BT and making sure we got to the finish line. And frankly, if you asked me to explain the relationship between the different characters that are giving you commands and fighting with you at the end, like, all I know is the people that you're fighting with most of the time are mercenaries. And the people that are giving you commands are higher ranking officers in the military. But what the overall objective is and why you're flipping in and out of different time streams didn't make a whole lot of sense to me and wasn't super compelling. And I just wish the story was more gripping earlier on. So, the story as a whole made sense by the time I got to the end.
Yeah, like it might have been because like the story stopped and like you had to wait for a loading screen. You had to read the captain's log,
reading.
which was
Mo, did you read?
terrible.
You know the answer. No,
Yeah,
of course
so Mo
not.
doesn't read.
I got-
Mo's illiterate.
Yeah, I got the gist of the story. I don't know the details, and I know how to pronounce the names because I read them differently, and then I was like, okay, whatever. But Typhon is like a planet, maybe?
Okay.
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't pay attention.
That was like a main thing. That was a main
Yeah.
place or something.
Yeah, so giving me if I were to give a quick summary of the story, very early on, the pilot of this mech, BT, dies, and he quickly forms a neural link with you. And throughout the game, you're increasing your proficiency and effectiveness of working with him to the point in which, I don't want to. We're at spoiler territory, boys, right?
Yeah,
I
100%.
think just a forewarning for anyone listening to this: the story of Titanfall 2, full of spoilers, up until the point where your mech dies, and then you bring him back because you're able to save his AI core, and then you get to the end of the game when he dies again, and after all the credits, the helmet flashes, and you realize BT's still alive in your helmet.
Oh man, yeah, we kind of rushed all the way through it, but essentially, yeah, you're right. The connection with BT is like the core of the game, and I think that's what they wanted to emphasize, because in the multiplayer, you get to call in these mechs, you get to call in all these big walkers at the end of the day, so they want to kind of build that relationship. The coolest thing I loved about them is you can, when you're fighting inside of the Gundam, I'll call it for now, when you jump out of it, the AI takes control of the body and like fights for you too. It's like its own autonomous turret robot that's just beating up everything. You could run back into it, and my favorite thing in the game is just the transition sequence when you get picked up and put into the walker or you disembark. Every time it seemed a little unique, and it was just like it felt real. It's like you're getting picked up by a giant thing and thrown in its chest, and it's like Optimus Prime roll out. It's awesome.
and they can so they're operating by themselves when you're out, and they can just toss you. Just, you need to go over that giant gap there? Well, jump onto my hand. Yeah, and I'll just chuck you.
Friendly giant.
Yeah. And even in the multiplayer, if you guys got to dive into that, it seems like even the Titans or the Gundams have personalities in their little voice lines. Yeah, it's very discreet. You kind of have to play that. I've always been a big believer in play the campaign, appreciate the multiplayer. Many of my friends will disagree with me on that premise and skip entirely over all of the work of the campaign. But yeah, if you look out for those little things and you appreciate it.
So I didn't touch the multiplayer at all. Bobby, it sounds like you did. Mo, Kevin, did you play the multiplayer?
Yeah, I jumped in maybe like half a dozen games because I remember playing it before and I thought it was pretty cool because you can call in the Titans to come get drop shipped, kind of like when you call in what's it called? A drop
Supply
ship.
drop.
Yeah, exact same concept. It flies from the sky, it lands, and then you're able to jump in it instead of get some items from like Apex. So I played a couple.
Come and get your birthday present.
This podcast's going to be filled with Apex audio clips, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hope so.
It's going to be hard not to. Yeah.
And that's the one thing. Yeah, no, I had no idea I had the connection of the two.
Yeah. The other great thing about calling in the Titan that I learned the hard way is I called in my Titan, and then I immediately was trampled by another Titan.
Oh.
But I got to get into my Titan and still use it. So they still let you have that.
Oh, so they let you spawn back in it.
Yeah, they don't let you do that in Battle Royale games anymore. You're done.
Yeah, it's one life and that's it.
Well,
and then you rage at having bad teammates.
Hey, why are you looking at me?
I don't know. It's pretty self-explanatory.
The one thing I noticed with the multiplayer, I think it had different loadouts for the Titans. What did you guys kind of like? By the time, let's say halfway through the game, what was your main loadout that you rocked with and took out everyone with? Anyone can start, I guess.
So I'm going to hop in here because I think this is a really good launching off point to talk about the similarities between the weapons in Apex and in Titanfall 2. And for obvious reasons, it's based in the same universe. It's, the same franchise for all intents and purposes. One of the things that I found really odd, and I don't know why I was expecting this, but the guns in Apex that are useless, like the P2020 and the Mozambique, and even the flatline are actually quite decent in Titanfall 2. Because I think they just get to balance it for a swarm of enemies coming at you and not, another character running towards you. So my go-to loadout was almost always a Spitfire, if I could get it, and then a Mastiff shotgun. Those my two favorites back to back.
Yeah, 100%. The Spitfire for me, and then anything else I could get. If there was a Mastiff, I was dropping any weapon for it because it would just blow people like off the platform. Like it was quite a powerful gun, so that's why I went Spitfire and then Mastiff, and then eventually I ran out of bullets, so then I picked up whatever terrible gun these robots or people were carrying.
Actually, the Mozambique was not bad in this game, so I actually played around with it a bit.
I didn't even find one.
I when I discovered that Mastiff, I was so excited because, like you guys said, it blew everyone away. I think it had like 6 or 7 or 8 rounds, like before you had to like reload all of them all back up again. So I used that. My second weapon, I never really cared as long as I had the Mastiff. I usually tried to keep some kind of assault rifle. It might have been a Spitfire, it might have been a flatline, it might have been anything. I just needed like something to switch to right away if I had to clear a certain room. And usually I try to keep those special, like there's an energy weapon. I think it was like a Havoc, but it shot like energy balls. Like when you shot someone, they blew up disintegrated style.
The LSK or something like that.
Yeah, and I chucked grenades all day. Just because they were so plentiful, you always had grenades. No matter what, I'm just firing left and right.
Infinite supplies of grenades of different types. And, it made me realize that there are a whole bunch of different types of grenades that they can start adding to Apex.
Yeah.
Like that electrical grenade that has a cloud of electricity and kind of just disables anything within it. I thought like that would be amazing to have in Apex.
The craziest thing is when I found the Mastiff in Titanfall 2. So I don't play that much Apex. I might play like a game a night, maybe, or like every other night I might play a couple games. So when I discovered the Mastiff in Titanfall 2 and I realized, holy crap, all the games in Titanfall 2 are literally the ones in Apex. I discovered the Mastiff and I'm like, man, I can't wait till they like release this in the actual Apex game. Next game I jump in, dropship comes down and literally a Mastiff was there. I was like, oh my god, they must have just did it. And my buddy was like, nah man, it's been there for a while. Like, wake up and pay attention. Like, and in the game, though, apparently it's not that good because the reload time is like a couple seconds, but between each shot, it's not as like satisfying as in Titanfall when you're just plowing down people.
Right.
Yeah.
Bobby, what were your favorite weapons?
I'm not too dissimilar in by the end of the game, I kind of figured out the Mastiff was good, so I was usually running with that, and then I'd switch it up. Like I was trying all these different guns. Yeah.
Same.
The double take, which wasn't the triple take, was kind of fun. There was an assault rifle, which I think you were describing. It was like the energy assault rifle, and it was usually carried by the enemies, like really towards the end game.
Was it called a Volt?
Yeah,
that
it
was the SMG type energy weapon.
Yeah, it was an SMG actually. It was really good.
Okay,
it was a fun little gun.
Yeah, I definitely found it was useful at the end of the game. But anytime you give me a Spitfire, I'm going to be happy.
What about with like the actual Titans themselves? When you were playing as BT, you know how you can swap out? Did you guys swap out different loadouts different times, or did you just keep one specific loadout with the BT?
God.
So for like the 90% of the game, I just took the Expedition. Is that what it's called? So just like the first one you get.
Really?
Yeah. And I would change it every time I got a new...
Why are you playing this game on hard mode, Kev?
Because every time I got a new one, I would switch it. I'd play with it for a little while, maybe die, and then I'd switch back until like the last kind of final battle. I was just shooting my gun. Instead of reloading, I would just pick another one. Just go for it until they got that very, very last one, and then I just rock that the rest of the time.
Wow.
I kind of dug that DMR. It was like the second one you got.
Yes, Bobby, Kindred Spirits here.
I love it.
The one where you shoot them 3 times and then you get a lock on and you press the bumper and it just shoots a barrage of rockets at them.
It was perfect.
Did that one do that much damage? I might be...
It did.
Okay, for some reason, I was having trouble getting the lock on, like to actually like connect, because you know how whenever you
gotta hit your shots, kid.
Yeah, all the AI kind of shifts left and right depending on how you're like trying to take them down. So like if you're shooting them with like the rocket barrage loadout, the one that had the 4 rockets, you can shoot every
the rocket launcher, the quad launcher.
So check this out. There was actually a combo that I did not discover until the final couple levels.
Yeah.
But that sensor beacon, if you shoot that out after you lock on to them, the rockets will follow them behind cover.
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Yep. Oh, I didn't realize at first what that sensor beacon was, and I was like, oh, this is to help make sure that they actually get hit.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about. What sensor beacon?
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, see, this is like us kind of. I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm like a League of Legends guy. So I like my combos, and I like, press this button, press this button. These guys sound like they're more like run and gun, reflex kind of
100%.
thing. I'm
100%.
seeing some nods.
Yep, 100%.
So Mo's definitely a run and gunner. Kev's just a stumbling with his gun and trying not to hurt himself.
Wow.
Look, I just call it like I see it, Kev.
Okay. I mean, I did like the combo of making yourself invisible, your pilot invisible, and then running up behind someone and just punching them. So I'm a run and puncher.
Yo, you're right. The punching was so good in this.
Yeah.
It was really satisfying to wall run up to someone, land on their face with a foot, and then punch the guy standing right next to them.
Oh,
Now, did you guys punch a bunch of random robots
Yes.
just standing around doing their jobs?
Oh, you're talking about the green robots, the ones that were not coming after you.
All the Pathfinders. I was just like, screw you. You
That's
killed
so
me
mean.
too many times.
So mean. No, I kind of left them alone more or less. My most satisfying thing, though, is walking with the Titan and not shooting the small guys, just walking on them and hearing the squish, 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 and like pummeling them that way. I never used bullets for them because I felt like it wasn't doing that much damage if they're shooting me with their little machine guns.
How savage, Mo. You're not even worth the bullets that it would take.
No, I literally dashed towards them and like try to crush them. That's it. That's all I did.
Well, earlier on today when I finished the game, I was in the Titan and I just went up to one and punched it, and Caitlin was watching too, and it just went out in like a puff of like red smoke, and Caitlin was like, "Whoa, jeez," like that was aggressive, punching a little guy like that.
Yeah. So I think that brings up an interesting element that we have not talked about at all yet, which is the wall running and the movement through this game, which I found it so rewarding. In Apex Legends, I play as a Wraith, so I love the mobility. But something about being the pilot and running from wall to wall and being able to just kind of magnetize to any surface you touch felt so rewarding. You're just able to make so much distance so quickly.
Did it feel kind of Mirror's Edge like?
100%. That's one of the first things I got initially was Mirror's Edge, running, jumping. And at first with me, I didn't really like the wall running. I was like, okay, when you do it initially, I'm like, okay, it's probably a small part of that game. Let's just do it once and then move on to different types of challenges. By the time we got to the end, I was kind of like, this is sweet. Let's keep doing it. And I got really smooth with jumping.
Yeah, and I like that they put in a bunch of challenges where there wasn't any enemies around, so that you could perfect kind of the wall run aspect of the game. And like even after you learn about it, it's like 4 or 5 missions into it, there's still like things that you have to do with the wall run. Even at the end, when there's just things flying around and they just happen to sit into place so that you can wall run right between. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. What I was not expecting was that this game was going to be as much of a platformer as it was. There was avoiding traps, there was avoiding hazards and obstacles and sliding under things and hopping over things, and all while, people are shooting at you. I have not played Mirror's Edge, but I know what it looks like to play, and now that you mention it, Bobby, it definitely strikes me as, a very futuristic Call of Duty style Mirror's Edge.
Both EA.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good point. I didn't think about that.
I think another game that jumped out me was Portal, specifically when we started doing the time shifting to jump through obstacles. That'd be like a laser beam. You have to like walk on the wall to kind of dodge it, shift time to go to another time period to get through. It was really sweet. It was like a mix of a bunch of games put together, a bunch of different mechanics blended into one, but it still felt very Titanfall and not a rip-off of the other games.
Did you guys like the time mechanic?
Yes. That was by far my favorite part of the game. By far.
What did you love about it?
It's just first off, like you can switch and be around no one. Like if you were going to get like If you were going to die, you just switched the time period, and you're just like, okay, sweet. I'm
Right.
Like all I had to do.
You're Wraith
was,
and you go into the void.
exactly, and then like the little kind of puzzly things where like you're jumping inside like a fan, and you have to switch between the fan and the laser when you're falling down, or
Or a pit that's on fire.
exactly. Or what was the other one? Like you had to get into like elevators and then switch time, and like the elevator doors were closed. I felt that whole sequence there. Like at the beginning of the mission, I was just like, oh, I don't want to do this. But at the end, I was just like, can we do more of this?
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat, and the exact same way as Kev. I looked at it as a way to escape a bad fighting situation that I didn't want to. Let's say you empty a clip into your bullets and you have to reload everything. I would just shift to the other world to kind of reload everything, and maybe just walk around and try to escape as far as I can and just avoid fights, more or less. I didn't like those like dog, lion, like hybrid...
Lizard.
The aliens.
Yeah, so to be honest, I'll take down any grunt with a machine gun, but as soon as I see those things, I'm like, get me out of here. So that's kind of what I used it for. And I was the same with Kev. I originally wasn't a huge fan of it, but by the end, I'm like, this is pretty sweet. Just the way that you have to time a lot of stuff to get through different levels, I kind of was into it.
Yeah, and like once you switched time periods, so I guess what it is you're switching time periods, you're in the same spot, right? But all the other people that were there are blue orbs in the new time period. So what I would do is I'd switch it, run up to a blue orb, switch it, punch them, switch it again.
Oh, life hack.
You're beating people up through time.
Yeah, it was great.
See, I just found myself like, I don't want to fight anyone. So I thought that's what
Yeah.
you were supposed to do. Like, I shouldn't kill any of like my teammates because I'm gonna mess up the space-time
Right.
continuum or whatever.
So that's really interesting because I think at the end of the time switching segment, BT says something you've done in the other timeline has triggered the security robots, or at least that's what happened to me because I killed and attacked everything. Did that also happen to you, Bobby, or is that dependent on whether you killed people and attacked them?
It'd be interesting to go back and try that because I got to the point where it was just too difficult not to kill the guys from the past because those lizards, man, they are
don't want
so
Right.
tough to
Yeah.
kill.
Yeah, I didn't want any part
Not
of
if
those.
you have a mastiff, though.
There you go.
Wait, one sec. Something that you said, Bobby, they were our teammates? Like they were on our side?
Yeah,
Is that what it
I
is?
think so, right?
So
They were
I
humans.
think-
They were humans.
Yes.
Yeah, they are humans, but I think they are the same type of human that you were fighting at the end point in the game when they were trying to create that arc reactor ball thing that like cuts time in half. I think.
Oh.
Again,
were
like
back.
this is the problem with the story. Like no one has any like real clarity, and I don't mean to say no one, but I mean like all four of us played through this whole game, and I don't think any of us have like really strong confidence in what happens in that story, other than BT picks you up a couple times and throws you across a big gap,
Yeah.
and then you feel sad when BT explodes.
Also,
So-
a big qualm for me is they make you watch this long credit scene, and they're like, remember this guy? Remember this guy? Remember this? And I'm like, no, I don't. This guy, like, what's going on here? Like, this wasn't, I'm sorry, like, I'm sure y'all worked really hard, but, you know?
I think the
Totally.
I think the only people I was excited or I remembered when I saw them for a second time were a couple of the bosses. The one was Ash, the one that had like the robot ceramic face. That one,
Yeah.
it's like when you hear her voice and she's very robotic and methodical, I was like, okay, this is going to be a cool person to see. The other one was, I think his name was Venom. He was the flying Gundam that was on top of the
Yeah.
spaceship. That was another guy where I was like, oh, this is going to be pretty cool. Besides that, you're right. There weren't too many memorable characters besides BT and yourself.
Well, the one bad guy that I remember is I don't even remember his name, so I shouldn't say I remember, but he had the thickest Arnold accent, and I just like
You mean South
laughed.
South African
No.
No,
Yeah,
there
I'm
was,
pretty sure he's South
there was
African.
Richter. Is that who you are talking about? Richter?
Yeah, I think so.
I heard
yeah.
Richtofen, and I was thinking about, like, Call of Duty Zombies. I was like, oh, it's this guy again.
But we didn't. I don't think we fought him at all. Or at least I don't remember.
Well, he says at the end when he's looking down at your body or looking down at the Titan.
No, that's the South African guy.
Yeah, the South African guy.
No.
Oh, you're
There's
talking
two
about
guys.
someone else.
I'm talking about like a German
sniper,
guy.
like hunter guy. He was one of the. He played the same loadout as us, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know. He just got lost in the game. I guess another thing to tell us about the story of this and how little we paid attention is the IMC good or bad?
I think the IMC's good. It's like the International
Are we
Marine
the
Force or
IMC?
something. Yeah, I think we're IMC.
Okay.
It's so funny how no one knows. We had 4 people playing the story, and we're all like, "Who is the IMC? When do we like? When does the Halo guy come out? Where's Master Chief in this game? Like, we're all lost."
Although to be fair, like I feel like Master Chief in this game, especially when they give me that smart auto pistol where all you have to do is like pull the trigger and the bullets like
Oh my
bend
God.
like wanted.
That was the
right
one.
into people's skulls.
That was the one I want in Apex. I'm like, this has to be a drop down. Like as soon as like there's maybe like 2
Legendary
people.
pistol.
Yeah, if there's like 2 squads left, all those guns just spawn everywhere, and then it's like first one to get it wins or something.
That's how they should update the P2020.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if P2020 could shoot around walls. Like it takes you a half second to lock on to someone.
Yeah, it's like if you find gold helmet, gold armor, and the P2020, then bam, you get that automatic like lock in.
Yeah.
Did it feel like Halo to you guys a little bit?
Well, I think Mo earlier had mentioned Halo as a comparison point. I would have drawn a little bit closer to Call of Duty, especially the Call of Duty that they had wall running, which I think maybe I'm just biased because I know the developers came from a Call of Duty background. But I think the only Halo elements for me was that it's in space and you're fighting larger than life enemies.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I came from. Was that? So I'm not a huge Halo player. I grew up in the PlayStation world, so I never really played that much Halo. So that's why I go to it, because I feel like Halo is the space first-person shooter. You're kind of fighting these larger-than-life characters, like Mike was saying. So that's kind of the only reason I mentioned it, is the space aspect.
Yeah.
Bobby, do you find a comparison to Halo there?
See, I wanted it. This is probably like the story-wise, and it was like I actually didn't play Space Call of Duty, but I found like looking at all these like Marines and all the guys on your team, and like I wanted those Halo dialogue. And I wanted, like, a Sergeant Johnson, a Sergeant Johnson character somewhere, but I just never found that.
Right. Yeah, and you never fight any aliens throughout the whole game, which is, I guess you could kind of describe those dog-lion hybrid things as aliens, but they're never really a persistent, intelligent force that's coming after you.
Yeah.
So for me, that kind of separates it from Halo in a way.
Yeah, and so those dog, lion, lizard things kind of remind me of. Have you guys seen what's the one with the upside down?
Stranger
Things. And then isn't the bad guy in the first one called the Draconis?
The Demogorgon?
Oh, Demogorgon.
so
Never
close,
mind.
so
Where have I
close.
heard Draconis before?
I think you're a Harry Potter
Yeah,
nerd.
that's the thing. What I'm thinking
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you're a Harry Potter nerd that doesn't know Harry Potter stuff. I think. I don't know.
Okay, I'll have to do some research.
Yeah. So, we've talked a lot about the story and how it's kind of, doesn't go anywhere for a while. But there definitely were some boss battles that stood out. What boss battles did you guys like throughout the game? Or any that stood out to you?
I think mine was that Venom guy. He's the first time you saw like a flying Titan. And I guess to kind of set it up for anyone that hasn't played, you're on top of this giant ship flying in on a planet, and you're walking on top of it, and there's this giant Titan that zips past you and is about to like take you down. He kind of reminded me of, he's a Batman villain. Is it Firefly? Does that ring a bell to anyone? He's a if it doesn't, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
Pretty sure his name was Firefly. He's a pyromancer, like fire guy that kind of shoots at you. That one I love just because of the mechanic of you have to find some way to lock him on. So I used the weapon you guys liked, the second one, the tag him 3 times and everything homed and took him down.
Such a good weapon.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can kind of use to kind of pin him down because he's very mobile. He's very agile. If you shoot him with anything slow, he just shifts past it. And he also summons other Titans that come after you to fight. So that was my favorite one.
Bobby, did you have any that stood out?
Yeah. How about it was like the second or third one where she has like the giant arena and basically she like has like the other troops in there and they're like, what the heck is going on? And you're like, all right, we gotta pop in here and take her out. But I just thought the whole environment of that, it almost felt kind of Nuketown-y. Of running around this fake world and fighting everything.
Especially because everything that leads... that for me is the one that stands out as well. And everything that leads up to that boss battle is you being a character that's parkouring and shooting enemies in this giant like house and like city fabricator. And it's only at the end does all of the parts of the places that are being built around you come together and create a map. And I thought that was a really cool touch that's the arena that you're fighting the boss in.
Yeah, it was super cool. And it made me realize how much I hated those crawling up, like blowing up things, those little spiders.
The little crawlers,
oh my God. Because I was like, oh, this is easy because all I need to do is hide in the house. This little Titan can't get me. And then next thing I know, like 8 of these spider things just come around me. I'm dead.
I honestly found her the hardest boss in the game. Because the rest of the boss fights, I just kind of like went through them. Like I was like, you guys aren't that hard.
See, I found that I died a lot in one of those near the end of the game when you're sieging that final area where there are just Titans everywhere, and you can't quite focus on one. You kind of just have to attack all of them. That's where I ended up finding out that I was dying a lot. It almost didn't matter what weapon I used.
With that one, I think my tactic was using the railgun and just zooming in from far, like a sniper version, letting it charge
that's when
up.
You get the railgun, right?
Yeah, you get to charge up, and it was almost like a 2-shot on some of the Titans. If you got a nice, clean shot that they didn't dodge. My issue was actually the final boss. I think it's Lorne or something. I might be messing up the name. It was the one that shot that giant heat wave beam at you, and if you're in its line of sights, you were gone in like 4 or 5 seconds.
Oh, right. That was a tough one.
Yeah, that one
that was tough.
I think what I kind of figured out what I would do is there's one loadout. I want to say it's the shotgun one, but it has like a knockback ability. So when you shoot anything, it pushes it back. So I found like whenever she was like using some kind of shield or was about to charge something up, I'd knock her to stun her, and then I would like shoot her with the shotgun to empty. Because I found the shotgun loadout did a lot of damage, just like the one gun we used when you're in pilot mode, I guess.
Was that the one that disappeared every time you got like a quarter of its health down?
Yes, I think that was.
Yeah, that one. She was super
frustrating.
annoying.
Every time you got close to finishing.
You guys mentioned those little walker things, the exploding spider bomb things.
Yeah.
Do you remember early on when it was like you have to survive until like help comes, and that's when you first see them and they're just crawling everywhere? My heart was racing the entire time, and I didn't know how to kill them because there's so many. So all I did was I wall ran the entire time until BT was able to help me and like shoot them down. It was I'm not kidding, a good 2 or 3 minutes of just wall riding, jumping randomly, falling, getting hit like once or twice, going red, jumping again, going invisible. Like I wasn't shooting anything. I was being such a coward, but I survived and I won the game.
100%. That's exactly what I did. I found this little corner where I could wall ride, jump, and then wall ride back, and just kind of continuously wall ride, and then jump down and shoot a few things, and then wall ride again, or wall run, whatever it's called.
So, okay, we've talked about some of our favorite boss battles. Let's talk about favorite moments, because there are definitely some very memorable moments. And, I just want to start off with the one that is still with me, that I'm still trying to piece together, which is when I believe his name is Kuben Blisk, the South African mercenary, when he chooses not to finish you off. He drops an Apex card or banner or poster.
It was just like a regular
the
card,
screen.
Right?
Yeah. I think like life-sized, it would have been like a bounty poster.
Okay.
But I honestly don't know. Bobby, I know we were talking a bit about this. Do you have any context for that one? Was that a moment that stood out?
Oh, for sure. Because so for me, when I came to this game, I had come from Apex first, so I was like, oh, Mercenaries, Apex Legends, and it would be interesting to see that as Apex develops, if some of these bosses, fingers crossed, actually become Apex Legends.
Right, because they are legendary, right?
They certainly are.
What are the chances that we get Titans in Apex Legends? As
Zero.
Zero?
I think zero.
It's like Thanos in Fortnite. Was that fun?
Yeah. Limited time mode, Mo.
Maybe.
Limited time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys remember when you first started Apex. It might be a while ago, but there was a scene where a South African was in a bar and he's like talking to somebody else about all these Apex Legends, and then it goes into like Wraith and all that, and they have like they're shooting each other. But is that something that ties in? Is that the guy that throws the Apex card at you? What is Apex and how does it tie into
That's
Titanfall?
interesting. I didn't think that could have been an older version of Kuban Blisk.
I bet it is.
Are there any other moments that stood out for you guys? I've got a bunch if you guys are drawing a blank.
I have one that is... So I mentioned it earlier, the bond between you and BT was a cool thing. And he's pretty much a robot. You talk to him all the time. He kind of blinks as well. And near the end of the mission or whatever, when you realize he's sacrificing his life because he's being like held prisoner, I guess, he's like, yo... Cooper, like, trust me, just take my, like, core or whatever. So what you do is you remove his, like, head unit. It kind of sounds gruesome, but it just kind of comes apart. And
it felt gruesome.
Yeah, because he was dying. He was your best friend the whole game, and this is the end, and all you have is just his head. It's very, like, weird, his robot head. But what you realize...
Just before that, let me just say, just before that, he actively, like, disobeys a human commander that says, I'm going to get you a real pilot, BT. And BT is like, no, I want Cooper. Cooper and I are, like, extremely effective together.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, even the robot wants to be with me. Like, we got a
friends.
bond
Yeah,
here.
literally, we're best friends.
It's not just one-sided.
And they make you believe that this is the end of his route. He's dead, and he's telling you to take his head. And what you realize is when you open his head, it's kind of like almost like a lunchbox. On one side, there is a pistol, and I think on the other side... there is some kind of like module as well, and his core is right in the center, which is his main AI like self. Like I guess essentially it's the hard drive with all of his data.
And Mom even leaves you some candy if you look deep enough in the box. Reese's Pieces.
Literally.
Yeah.
So it was really you realize, holy crap! Like I got this crazy weapon, and you start like unloading in this battle arena place, like trying to like survive and make it to the exit because you have an escort waiting for you to take you out of the battlefield or whatever. So running through, shooting. Obviously, I'm assuming that's one of you guys' favorite spots. That was the one that kind of sticks with me until you finally bring him back to life. When a new Titan falls, you enter his core in, and BT is like, I'm back, motherfucker. Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Yeah, that right there is when you find out that BT is not actually dead and he can be just put into another robot. It's just like, oh, that's great. And then they tear your heart out again by, is it BT is jumping into the core, and he just takes you out and throws you, and he blows up, and you're like, what? We just saved you,
right?
Man.
Well, he does say,
give me your eye
trust
again.
You. He does say, trust me, Cooper.
Yeah, he does.
But up until that, we find out later when the helmet starts flashing that we're given the hint that BT's still alive and he's downloaded into the helmet. But up until that point, I was thinking when he said, trust me, Cooper, he meant like I'm going to save you because that's one of my priorities.
Yeah, trust me that you're going to be alive still. Yeah.
That was a great moment. I also found the moment when you first sync up with BT and first get into the Titan to be just an amazing feeling because you're using the stealth for the first time. You see the sheer power of the Titan. And I think it's also a good moment because it shows you that unlike in other games where you have a companion, they're not entirely useless and they don't need to be babysat. They have that great balance of being effective but not too effective that they do all the work for you.
I think they also
I'm sworn to carry your burdens.
Yeah. And I think they tease you a lot too because the game is called Titanfall. There's Titans, and in the first I want to say 10-15 minutes you're just a regular person shooting, finding battery packs for your Titan, and eventually when you finally power him up it's like come on, and then you jump into him and you're like, oh my god, this is exactly what I wanted. It's the coolest thing ever. But that initial tease that you can't use the Titan yet, and then eventually they give you the hammer. It's awesome.
Definitely a great moment.
Do you guys remember the part with the cranes where you have to like move them around so that you can like wall run correctly?
Yes.
Oh, I love that. But it was like just enough of like, I mean, there was the one crane where you had to actually like move it back after you moved at a certain point, and you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of tricky.
Yeah, I was kind of nervous that they weren't going to lock them. So the first couple, when you just keep moving them left or right until it stops and they're in the right spot. And then as soon as we got to the one where, you have to put it in a spot that works for you, I was like, oh, man, now I have to think. Jeez. But yeah, it was really cool setting them up.
Autopilot.
Yeah, you can't just click left until it locks in. You have to actually make sure it makes sense in the world. Yeah, no, that was a good spot because I like being able to just parkour and just run. At that point, you kind of get really proficient with the wall running, and it becomes second nature to kind of get to wherever you need to. You're not falling that often and things like that. It was sweet.
How cool would it be if Cooper was a legend? He could wall run whenever he wanted. That was his passive. He can go invisible. I don't know what his ult would be, but I think that might be coming to Apex.
I love that playing this game has got me thinking of all the ways that Apex can be better. Because I enjoy playing Apex, but more legends, more characters, more abilities seems like a really fun way to add more variation to the game.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it's definitely going to come from Titanfall. Like, there's just so much content there they can add in. I'm excited. Excited for video games.
And, it sounds like you guys hopped a bit into the multiplayer, but I didn't for Titanfall 2. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do for storyline for Titanfall 3. And now that I've been playing some Apex, what they plan to do with the accompanying multiplayer. Because I assume that, they've got a winning formula for Apex. They've got a winning formula for a campaign for Titanfall 2. It seems like a no-brainer to do Titanfall 3 at some point.
100%. I'm excited. If they ever release it, it'd be something I'm definitely interested in. I was interested in it because we played it on the podcast. And I play Apex as well, so Titanfall 3 will be in my checkout.
Yeah. Me and my buddies are kind of BR'd out at this point. I think all of us, or I think as a gaming whatever, we're starting to get to that point. And I think Titanfall 3... a lot of potential there. I just think the mechanics of actually it's not just going to be these you versus you, but there's these giant robots that kind of factor into the gameplay. These guys know, the campaign not so much, but these guys know how to really create interesting mechanics for people to play with. And so Respawn, you have my money, so shut the hell up.
Same here, yeah.
Yeah, I will definitely play Titanfall 3 when it comes out. If it comes out, I'm assuming it will. And I think they're going to have a lot more opportunity for the multiplayer because they already have a BR out there and they're not going to focus on it like other games have tried. And they're just going to make a new kind of Titanfall multiplayer. It'll be pretty sweet.
So, boys, I think there was I think we've talked a lot about Titanfall 2, and I'm sure we could probably say a whole lot more, but for the sake of our listeners here, I'm gonna put a pin on it. Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to summarize your takeaways? With Titanfall 2.
I think I'll add the one thing. So we did spoil a lot of it. So if anyone didn't listen, I want to say we didn't really spoil the bond that you get with BT that much. That's something you get as you play with it. There's a lot of interaction. He'll talk to you and you decide how you want to reply to him. You'll be snarky back to him. We didn't really dive into that. So if you do want to play it, I say it's so inexpensive to dive in, give it a shot. If you like Apex, you'll like this game even more. I definitely think it was worth the play, and I would play it again if I listened to the podcast and I was advised to play it. So that's my takeaway. I liked it. Good recommendation, and I think anyone else listening to this should give it a shot as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I would also recommend it. I guess just reiterating that I didn't really follow the story, but I didn't need to. It was a lot of fun playing it, just shooting other Titans down, shooting other people. Fun. Yeah, punching people off of ships. It was a blast.
Yeah, definitely a roller coaster ride, and definitely glad that I took the time to go through it. It's one of those campaigns that's just long enough. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and is the right length because it leaves you wanting a bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Spot on.
And super low barrier to entry. It's What did you? I'm assuming we all have Games Pass, or
Yeah.
most of us, until it
And
comes to
EA
PC.
Access.
Yeah, and then EA Access to do it for like a month, unless you really like sports games. What are you spending? Like an extra $5 to play a game? That's a pretty good
think
deal.
EA Access is $30 a year. So
Yeah, it's definitely cheap
super
for the
cheap.
year.
So go get EA Access.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
So, all right, guys. So that was our talk on Titanfall 2. If you want to find us on the internet, Bobby, where can the people find you? And where can they hear more from Mr. Bobby Baird himself, the part-time gamer?
Well, I am actually starting up a podcast that you guys should listen to. It's going to be at PTGCast.com, and I will give Mike a link here so you guys can listen to it. But it's pretty cool. It's about like working in video games and that whole thing. And we got some cool people on the show, and hopefully Mike will join us at some point.
Oh, absolutely. I listened to the first episode and I thought it was fantastic. And I think one of the fun things that you're doing, Bobby, is highlighting the people in the games industry that actually play games. And it's kind of surprising that that's not always the case, but it's great that you're doing that and you're telling the stories behind it.
You'd be surprised. I strive for the balance of you play games, or you actually play games, but you still care about like making something. You're not consumed about just playing games. So
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to have productive hours in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
Kev, where can the people find you at?
You can find me pretty much nowhere except for Xbox, a tribe called Kev. And I've noticed that you have a bigger Twitter following than Instagram following. So Instagram.com/leftbehindgameclub can post a comment or a like there, and I'll see it.
We're going to post a pic of Kevin so everyone can know what he looks like.
Oh, no.
I'll throw it a
Thanks
like.
for the plug, Kev. Yeah. And Mo, where can the people find you at?
You can find me at murtadi.com or on Murtadi on most social media platforms. And you can find the podcast, like Kevin mentioned, on Twitter as well as Instagram. And most importantly, if you jump on our website, we do have a link directly to our Discord channel. So you can jump in and jump into the discussion about Titanfall 2, Apex, any other game. We throw in a lot of stuff about the news and kind of chat about games in general, what's going on, any headlines that are popping up. And Michael, where can the fine folks find you?
People can find me on most social platforms at Ruffolo M or michaelruffolo.com. And you can also find me in the Discord server. I know we've had a couple of people hop in anticipation for this episode. Excited to talk Titanfall 2. I'm excited to talk more about it with them now. So if you have thoughts and you want to share them with us or the people in the community, feel free to hop into the Discord. We're really welcoming and excited to talk about it. And that, my friends, is one less game left behind.